Yeah, so I want to talk about Noster and the Fediverse. Noster is in some ways, a competitor to ActivityPub, but it is also part of the Fediverse. And I think that it doesn't have to be a negative thing. First, why does Noster exist? Noster exists as a combination of ideas from ActivityPub, secure scuttlebutt in Twitter. We know why Twitter. There were a lot of problems with ActivityPub that the Noster community perceived of, mostly around user identity controlled by servers and the inability to build multiple apps on top of it. No kind of single sign-on reusing your social graph. And there's a portion of Noster users who were unhappy at the trust and safety system based on servers, often because they did terrible things that they deserve to be kicked off. But primarily Noster is based on secure scuttlebutt that was rewritten to work on it. And I was working on secure scuttlebutt before I worked on Noster. So how did Noster and the Fediverse connect? At the moment, the primary way in which they're connected is through this Fediverse server called Noster. And it is a two-way gateway that, there are, I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of people are using back and forth. And it passes back and forth. And so to the Fediverse, each Noster user appears to be a user on the Noster server. And to the other direction, they appear to be a Noster user. Inside the Noster apps, here's a case of Damus. It indicates, each of these things here is an activity pub. You can click on it, it links back to whatever source for those users are. You can reply. This is my app, nos.social. And when you do reply, you'll see the reply back in whatever Fediverse server goes back and forth. This is something I did last night before I went to sleep. I don't know how to make the video. Here's the video. So here's an example in the app where you're going in, you put a Fediverse username in Noster Apps, and you look up their username, and then it goes through the gateway, pulls down the user's profile, and lets you follow them and have posts on what they're doing. So to the users in the apps, they don't really see any difference. One of the big problems is that Noster.pub is a single gateway, so it doesn't act in a way that is nice to the Fediverse. Noster is a different model for how trust and safety works and how content is removed and reported. In particular, the gateway is run and created by Alex Gleason, who lots of people in the Fediverse, for very legitimate reasons, don't like, and sometimes he gets blocked just because of that. There's also some apps like Nutty, which I think is either going to be demoed or was already demoed yesterday, where you can cross-post to multiple services. But the future that most Noster folks are going through is a service called Ditto, and Ditto gets us out of the single gateway. So Ditto is a Fediverse server that also loads up your Noster identity, and so you would map having the single username on Noster and the single username on the Fediverse. And this is me logged into Ditto, currently running. There's also bridyfed, which doesn't yet support Noster, but is in the pipeline, and that would be a more individually hosted managed service. Why Noster? So Noster is in some ways very similar to ActivityPub servers, but the difference is everything is not tied inside a single server. This is similar to how Blue Sky works and similar criticisms. Inside Noster, we have a whole bunch of content types that are not microblogging structured. And so, here's a long form content type. I'm logged in to the same server with the same identity, the same user with the same set of identity and followers and contacts in these very different apps. And so that's one of the big differences between the Fediverse, is that I use my same social graph and same user in all of these different apps. This is what the long form content system looks like. There was a talk yesterday on a bandcamp-like service on the Fediverse. Lavlake is a bandcamp-like service that is running, and artists are charging for content and uploading stuff and making money. We have a whole bunch of musicians, fairly small ones, who talk about how they make more money on this than on Spotify. It's not hard to make more money than you make on Spotify, but it's live and running. There's, this is collaborative document editing. We do have a system like Blue Sky for like users opting in to different algorithms in their feed. And so someone could put a feed server that does the algorithms. Not all the apps actually support this yet. I would say it is much less fleshed out than Blue Sky.
I think there's a lot more to show. Are you going to run a session about this later?
Yeah, I'm going to run a session about this later, talk about Noster and where it is with the Fediverse. There's collaborative editing, so users can go in and suggest edits to other people's content and approve it. And sort of just lastly, as I wrap up, that, there's a lot of sort of bad blood back and forth and a bunch of people in the Noster community who diss the Fediverse, but they are collaborative. So thank you. Sorry for running a minute over.
Thank you. Thank you.